Hello. So I want you to watch me as I decorate this birthday cake. The colors are going to be burgundy, burgundy with a touch of gold. That's my plan for this birthday cake. I love when customers just give me a free flow to decorate a cake as I see fit. She only said, please make it elegant and beautiful. So that's exactly what I'm going to achieve with this cake. So I'm using vanilla and chocolate cake for this one, and I'm going to be decorating it with Swiss meringue buttercream. So the first process is always to have level cakes and then fill each layer with your preferred filling. I just use chocolate buttercream as my filling for this one. Honestly, at this point, I wasn't even sure exactly what the cake was going to look like. I had not decided on the colors I was going to use, but I guess the most important part is to start by stacking the cake. And what I tend to do most times is once I've crumb coated my cake and put it in the fridge, that's when I start to think about what the design would look like. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is obviously layering the cakes and alternating the flavors. So vanilla chocolate, and I'll end with chocolate on top. Each layer filled with chocolate buttercream. So the last layer is going to go on top. And what you see me doing here is ensuring that the chocolate buttercream doesn't slip through the sides, because the texture is, or the consistency is a bit runny, and if it starts to slip out, it would just make a mess of the cake and it won't be as stable as it ought to be. So that's my leveler. I always put that on top of the cake just to ensure that I have straight sides. It's a very important step for me because you don't want your cake tilting on one side. Now what you see me doing with the buttercream here is I'm about to start crumb coating the cake, but I like to put buttercream on the sides that don't look on the sides to seal the edges first to prevent the filling from slipping out, and then to also ensure that my sides are level. So I did some of that off camera, but this is basically what happens next. I pipe buttercream around the sides of the cake, and then I just smoothen it out to achieve a clean crumb coat. This cake was relatively tall, so you would have seen me inserting a dowel rod inside just for more stability, and crumb coat is pretty much done. So another part that I skipped on the camera was, as I mentioned, that I didn't want my filling to start seeping out. It was rather soft in texture, so that's why you would see that it was starting to lean to one side a little bit. So I wrapped it with some cling film or cling wrap just to keep it stable while it was sitting in the fridge. So now out here it's already very cold, so I'm able to pipe my actual buttercream for a clean finish. I used burgundy color, and to achieve this color what I used was a touch of red. I started with red and then I used the burgundy color. I used color meal and I think a Mary color. I had to mix those two colors. So here I'm covering the cake in buttercream and just smoothing as I go until I'm happy with a clean finish. To be honest, guys, cake decorating can be a messy process. And Swiss meringue sometimes, depending on the colors, when you're trying to darken your colors, they do get a bit runny in consistency, but it also crusts very nicely. So like I said, I'm just going around a few times, scraping off any excess I have until I'm happy with the sides. I have clean sides, no gaps, no air bubbles, and no rough patches. I tend to be a perfectionist when it comes to this, so I go round and round a couple of times. I spend a good amount of time to ensure that I have clean sides. Okay guys, at this stage, please, I'm relatively new to YouTube and I've just started posting my cake decorating videos, so support me by subscribing and commenting and asking questions if you have any. Thank you. So now I'm using my cake scraper to give me a nice pattern on the side of the cake. And guys, this process just requires patience, and always make sure that your turntable is doing the job, okay? Keep your hands steady and use your turntable. Don't go moving your hands around. I find that using a cake comb is something that some cake decorators still struggle with. And I'm really happy with how it's looking just by keeping my hands steady and letting my turntable do most of the work. It's starting to look really good here, and I think I only had to do about three takes before the sides of my cake looked properly patterned using the cake comb. So I mean, look at it, it's already looking beautiful without having to do too much on the cake. I love how a cake comb can take your cake design from 0 to 10 real quick. Now in this right here, what I'm doing is cleaning the sides of the cake to give me a really clean cake board. And the trick is just to wrap a palette knife around a clean damp cloth and work your way around the cake board or the edge of the cake very slowly and carefully till you scrape off any excess that may have stained the cake board while you were covering your cake. So there we have it. See how clean and see how nice that looks. So I'm going to put the cake in the fridge, and at this point what I'm doing here is now scraping off the excess. But for this step, guys, make sure your cake is very cold. I had already put the cake in the fridge and brought it out before I started scraping off the excess. What this helps you achieve is a sharp edge on the top of your cake. If the cake is not cold and you're trying to smoothen the top, it tends to look a bit untidy, if that's a good way to describe it. But if the cake is very cold and you use your palette knife to scrape off the excess, this is how you will get very sharp edges on the top of your cake. So that's what I'm doing here, just scraping as I go and putting away any excess buttercream I pull off as I go. If you see, I did a bit I went a bit too deep. That's why I have that part showing the cream color, but that's easy to fix. My cake is still cold, so that makes it very easy to fix. I'm just going to put in some extra buttercream and smoothen it, and that will fix the problem. Again, guys, I mean, I'm still going to be decorating this cake with some flowers, so any imperfections can be hidden just by decorating the cake. I don't mind you letting me know where you are watching me from. Are you just a cake enthusiast? Do you like to just watch cake videos, or are you an upcoming or a beginner learning to decorate your cakes? Let me know in the comments. Thank you. So final touches, this is me just decorating the cake. I started by putting my cake charm right in the middle of the cake. Once you do this, you can tend to decide what you want the overall look to look like. So here I'm just inserting some artificial flowers and cake balls. So the overall look I'm aiming for is burgundy and, you know, a light touch of gold. It's starting to already look very beautiful here. The flowers are pinkish, you know, they have some pink undertone to it, pink, and yeah, it's more like burgundy and pink. And because there's a bit of pink there, I feel like that blends really well with the burgundy color. And finally, I'm just, you know, attaching, or will I say pasting, some gold flakes on there, just to give it some extra add some extra beauty to it, I would say. So I put that on the bottom and on the top corners of the cake, just to give it, yeah, that looks really, really nice. It's interesting how simple but very elegant this cake is. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and ask me any questions.